Toy Story as a franchise is ideally spread out if the goal is to chart the decline of Hollywood from a kingdom of gold to one of iron and rust. The first movie, released in 1995, took a premise that is almost limitless in its simplicity, what if toys were alive, and married it with something old and something new, the kind of imaginative, characterful sight gag that made classic Disney movies so compelling, and a brilliant new technology no one was quite sure would work, but that ended up defining the future of filmmaking. Its script was very clever, witty, immediately grokkable by children, but full of double meanings and jokes that parents would enjoy. The story was simple, many of the best stories are, but meaningful. Its thematic through lines, friendship, loyalty, self-acceptance, were character-led and universalist, just as relevant today as they were back then. Toy Story 2, released in 1999, can claim to be one of the best sequels ever made. It retained everything that made the original so good, and it amplified it. The technology was better, the approach was proven, the movie has a confident swagger to it, and the script is, if anything, better than its progenitor, more complex both structurally and thematically. In between a brilliant play on Empire Strikes Back or Jurassic Park, you'll find serious and heartfelt scenes devoted to the tension between transient childhood affections and the self-preserving want for permanence. How do we react when we lose the things we love? How do parents deal with their children outgrowing dependency? Is it, as Shakespeare said, better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all? You then have to wait a decade before you get to Toy Story 3, released in 2010. Bookended by a strong beginning and an extremely poignant end, 3 doesn't really have enough material to justify its runtime. The new characters introduced in 2 are summarily relegated to the background. The plot itself goes through a very similar journey as its immediate predecessor, with a similarly motivated villain representing a similar thematic dilemma. But it all feels a little bit tired, a little bit obligatory. You could probably cut the entire A-plot out of existence and repackage the opening and closing scenes as a short movie to say goodbye, and you'd retain all that is most valuable about that movie. It's always reminded me of a better version of Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. A love letter, quite sincere, but padded with a lot of samey stuff we've seen before, but when it was before, it was more inspired. The end, though, is a tearjerker, especially if you were within a few years of Andy's age when the movie released, and aware that this choice was coming to you before you could ever be ready for it. It was ultimately poignant, sad, but uplifting. Where one childhood ends, another begins, and the duty to love and to care is undying. This is the point at which the franchise should have either started fresh or else, and preferably, stopped. But, it didn't. Toy Story 4, released in 2019, slap bang in the middle of what some people might call the peak woke era, though I prefer the close relative peak wank. Toy Story 4 has many of the attributes that define the peak wank era, beginning with unpersoning the man who created this much-loved franchise by spurious accusations of Me Tooery. Let the past die, kill it if you have to. Rather than create something new to represent its bold storytelling ideas, Toy Story 4 parasitized the good work of a world it seemed to despise. Remember all those wonderful secondary and tertiary characters, all the personalities, the jokes, the way they provide the tonal contrast with the serious stakes of the A-plot? Well, they're still here, they have maybe 3 lines? Don't you worry though, you won't miss them. We've got some wonderful new characters for you to love. Like this thing, and these things. You're gonna love them. They're women and black people. You will love them, or we'll fucking kill. Remember Woody and Buzz, the iconic duo, the partnership that made this whole thing possible? They were cool. Anyway, here's Bo Peep. She's way better than them. This is her story. Look at her telling Woody what to do. Woody's so useless. Behind every man is a woman ready to jump on his shoulders and take all the credit. And those villains, huh? Sid, psycho child on the wrong path, he's pretty iconic. Stinky Pete spent all his life as an also man, always the bridesmaid, never the bride, craves the adulation of his more popular peers, represents the bitter and empty future awaiting Woody if he chooses the route of permanent admiration over fleeting love. that was all kinda good. But how about we do something very similar, but also worse? Because Gabby in Toy Story 4 has mutilated other toys and stolen their organs for decades so she can be loved. But she's a woman, and so she's immune to any actual consequences. She gets given everything she wants in the end, and nobody blames her for being Toy Story's own Dr. Mengele. And as the ultimate and final expression of the peak wank era's devotion to the cult of the self, where the self is the most boring, empty, vapid, slony girl at every party, how about we have Woody abandon his duty to care for and love his new child so he can go off and bow some peep? Given the toys as parents metaphor has been a bit of a thing since the beginning, Toy Story 4 seemed to be saying that once you've had one kid fly the nest, I guess you're just allowed to abandon the second one and go find yourself, like some worthless Instagram whore. The peak wank era crested a couple of years ago, and though it's not entirely over, it is in decline. The problem is that so few properties remain unscathed by it, and most of the same writers and creators who bent the knee back then, morally the same but less jizzy than those who bent the knee to Harvey Weinstein, well, they lack the bona fides traditionally found among Hollywood writers, like the ability to write or think. Studios are now a bit more concerned with making money than they are in preaching the revolution, which somehow managed to be feminist while eliminating women as a category, but this deprives the current generation of Hollywood writers their one pet subject. How then does Toy Story 5 navigate these choppy and uncharted waters? Does it rise from the disgustingly profitable wreck of the previous film like a phoenix? Does it remember what quality used to look like before it was cancelled? Freed from the commissars of the revolution, does it now feel itself free to tell a story once again? No. Will it make a fuck ton of money anyway? Yep. Speaking of, a quick word from our sponsors. ZocDoc is a free online marketplace where you can search, compare, and book appointments with more than 100,000 healthcare providers covering pretty much any condition you've given yourself. Eye care, skincare, dental health, mental health, ZocDoc will help you find someone to mend it. Choice is the name of the game. Hollywood might offer you a spoonful of slop to help the medicine go down, but choice can also be a good thing, like choosing the very best doctors and the tastiest medicines available to you, which is what ZocDoc empowers you to do. ZocDoc lets you filter for doctors who will take your insurance, who are located nearby, and book appointments at short notice. You'll have your typical ZocDoc appointment within a 24 to 72 hour window. Many providers will even offer same-day appointments. With ZocDoc, an appointment is just a few clicks away. Nobody on YouTube is qualified to give you medical advice, least of all me with all my bad habits, but ZocDoc empowers you to choose the best of those who are, and the best bit about it is it's free. You can take a look today at my link, ZocDoc.com/LostChord, by scanning the QR code on your screen or by clicking through to the link in my description. Thanks to ZocDoc for sponsoring the channel. Now, back to the video. The plot of Toy Story 5 is threadbare, but manages to continue the habit begun in 4 of shitting on its predecessors and replacing them with the void. It begins with a broken shipping container washed up on the beach of some remote island containing a small army of new Buzz Lightyear toys. The movie thinks these are new because they now have networked features. You could have a lot of fun with that idea if you had an imagination. A play on Terminator is the obvious way to go, in much the way Toy Story 2 riffed so heavily on Empire Strikes Back. But we're not actually going to have any fun with this at all. We don't really have or prize imagination now. And what's really new about these Buzz Lightyears is that they are functionally retarded. Remember Buzz's introduction in the first movie? He thinks he's something he's not, but within that framework he is intelligent, he is aware, he's acting on his premise. Elite soldier of Star Command crashed on an unfamiliar world. He has to learn about it, figure out what's happened, how to get home. The new Buzz Lightyears, they're a bit slower on the uptake. Star Command. It took them more than 3 minutes of movie, which was itself a time-condensing montage, to remember they could form words with their mouth holes. The movie's going to come back to these guys periodically throughout, but there's pretty much no point us following its structure as we go because there's no plot in it. We'll get 2 or 3 quick cutbacks as the buzzes make their way from this remote island to the American Midwest, and the purpose of each one of these cutaways is to remind us that these buzzes, doubtless coming to a toy store near you, are in the movie. They will then intersect with the A-plot implausibly and at the most contrived of moments where they're cool new features you should definitely get your parents to buy because you really, really need it, and it's definitely worth $75, Mum, please. Well, they will become useful as a mere vehicle. But the movie is going to spend the bulk of its runtime emasculating actual buzz in a bid to appeal to girls who don't typically play with expensive flying AC drone Buzz Lightyear toys, thus harming the product in the eyes of the male audience that modern writers refuse to cater for. That's an irony that seems to have escaped both the writers and the marketing team. Anyway, that's the entire Buzz Brigade story summed up. No clever jokes, no clever references, no real reason to be in the movie. One Toy Story 2 artifact revived so it can be murdered on the screen.
Zurg is our dad.
It's so smart, it's so witty, you've got to love it. Prologue 1 dispensed with, we then get the pre-prologue flashback informing us that we're going to be doing some pretty horrendous damage to Jessie in this movie as well. She's the protagonist now, you see, so it's vitally important that we fuck with her backstory.
This way, you'll never lose me, Jessie.
Top marks for efficiency, this scene breaks several things in the span of mere seconds. Remember Toy Story 2? Remember how Al was trying to get his hands on the Woody's Roundup crew to sell to a Japanese collector? Remember how important it was to him that these toys be presented in mint condition, as though they had never before been touched by any child? There were whole scenes devoted to that subject. Do you think Al might have spotted that Jessie had some kid's address scrawled on her fucking trouser leg? And the plot-breaking nonsense is arguably the least significant problem with this pre-prologue. Remember Toy Story 2? Remember how Jessie was traumatized from her past abandonment by Emily? Remember how it was the thing that defined her whole personality, that she thematically represented Woody's own fears about his future taken to the nth degree? Remember how the whole point of that movie, for Woody, for Jessie, for everybody else, was to overcome this fear and enjoy the time they have, knowing that though relationships may be fleeting, love itself is eternal. Remember how, by implication, getting over this abandonment and joining Andy's family was Jessie's payoff and conclusion? Yeah, well, we're not doing that anymore. Toy Story 2 was inadequate, you see. At long last, Toy Story 5 has come to fix one of the best sequels ever made. Thank goodness, it really needed it. Prologue and pre-prologue concluded, we finally arrive at the present and find Bonnie, Andy's replacement anchor being, playing in the garden with her toys. And by playing, I mean she's staged a wedding in which the retarded trash fork from Toy Story 4 marries a retarded trash spoon.
Knife!
Whatever.
2 things of note. The first, at what point did it stop being sexist to portray girls as only interested in pink things, dresses, princes, and weddings? The second, do you think young boys will watch this and ask their parents to buy them bridesmaid Buzz? Because, I dimly remember being a kid, and I sure wouldn't. Then again, I was born in that cis-heteronormative dystopia known as the 1990s. We were more like Andy in that we actually had a creative and adventurous imagination. Perhaps the modern male child is more enlightened than we were. Bonnie then spots the neighbors returning home. She gets scared and she hides behind a tree. This is because her parents are abysmal and have let her get to the age of 8 without learning any social skills whatsoever. Clearly technology is to blame and we should ban it. The toys are concerned that Bonnie seems to be a social spastic and they make it their mission to give her the courage to ask the neighbors' twin kids to play. Bonnie just doesn't spot that Jessie is rolling across the garden in front of her because finding creative ways for the toys to avoid getting spotted is old and old things are boring. So Bonnie retrieves Jessie.
Hello? Mom? Dad? Why won't anyone be my friend?
Because your parents have kept you isolated, alone in your garden, they've arranged no playdates, they haven't made friends with their own neighbors, they've done absolutely none of the basic parenting stuff that everybody in the 90s knew how to do. Gosh darn that technology, stopping parents from making the most fundamental decisions for the betterment of their kids. My iPad forced me to abandon my daughter. Something must be done about this. Please, government, step in and ban them.
They're both just sitting there, doing nothing.
Well, that one's clearly playing a video game. I know Disney makes substantially more money from toys than it does from video games, because Bob Iger was the first person to realize that video games were popular a couple of years ago. But video games are not nothing just because your company sucks at them. A cynic might suggest there's a slight conflict of interest at play here, and that Disney is much less concerned with what constitutes art than with what constitutes operating profit from merchandise sales. But I'm sure Mickey Mouse is above that sort of thing. It's not like this is a company that used the dead guy's Twitter account to shill one of its terrible superhero movies, deleted black people from Chinese posters, thanked concentration camp administrators, pushed gay rights in Florida in the same month it launched Disney Plus in Saudi Arabia, somehow employed 27 actual nonces on its cruise ships, lined its shelves with sweatshop products, and I could go on. Disney, it's such a wholesome company. I'm glad it owns my entire childhood now. Anywho, the basic conflict is clearly laid before us. The bold, the noble, the good and righteous toys against the technology parents blame, because it's easier than taking accountability for your own actions.
What happened to you?
You're dead where you lie.
Curious theory, chaps. Tech, tablets and phones principally, are ending playtime and killing toys, says Toy Story 5. How do you square this theory with the fact that US toy sales have more than doubled since 2008, risen 16% since 2020 alone, that kids segments represent over 70% of overall sales, that the industry is gaining entire new audiences thanks to the rise of kidults and nostalgic collectors? Because, you know, it'd be kind of embarrassing if you were jumping on an anti-tech, anti-misinformation campaign by using tech to spread misinformation. That might even rise to the level of extremely irresponsible. This is a mass-market family movie. You probably shouldn't be lying to the audience of a mass-market family movie.
The age of toys is over!
Hey, remember Toy Story 2? Remember how Rex is playing the Buzz Lightyear video game and he's losing? Remember how his want to succeed sees him find the instruction manual for that game in Al's Toy Barn, and that he then uses that to help actual Buzz defeat actual Zurg? Well, wouldn't it have been better if Toy Story 2 had had a fit about video games causing school shootings, cause moral panics are great? Yeah, I think that would have been a much better story.
All have devices, except for Bonnie. Don't worry, we're safe.
You see, in the earlier Toy Story movies, the toys were constantly worried about getting replaced. It was a fear they had to overcome. But it was never as selfish as this. Woody never looked at Andy being a total weirdo loser with no friends and said, "Ha, at least I'm safe." And I have to keep doing these comparisons because the movie is here doing an extremely shitty Chinese knockoff version of the first movie's structure and conflict. The old toys are fairly content until the threat of a new cool thing upends their world, and the new cool thing soon arrives in their bedroom. Except here, instead of Buzz, it's Lilypad, who is as close as you're going to get to a hero in this sorry tale, and so naturally these perverted writers believe that it is the closest thing to a villain in their story. That confusion is because the movie has nothing to say about this twat here. Look at him there. Dude, your daughter has been on her tablet all fucking day. Interact with her. You're her parent. Remember how in Toy Story 1, Woody and Buzz have their first meeting on top of the bed, and it's portrayed as a clash for authority, Buzz being deluded but extremely cool and competent, and Woody being deluded about his own virtues and appeal? That's a cool scene, sets up the antagonistic relationship they will have to work through for the rest of the movie. We're doing that again, kind of.
Try to stay calm, Jesse.
I'm the definition of calm.
That's not gonna work.
Yeah, you go, girl. Buzz has no business telling you what to do. It's not like he's a character with memories who lived through the exact same thing and has been in that tablet's position, and so might have some useful insight into its condition.
I want to talk to you, device.
Dude, you didn't have to use the hard V, Jesus Christ. LilyPad shows off how extremely useful it is as an educational and entertainment tool and makes more effort to solve Bonnie's friendship problems in 2 seconds than the toys have made in 2 years. So, Jessie decides that beating the shit out of it is the most mature response. It's interrupted when Bonnie enters the room and reads on LilyPad that the new friends LilyPad has connected her with have already invited her to a sleepover. Now then, if you were born in the 90s, you might expect something like the following to happen. Your parents would get in touch with the other kids' parents, maybe invite them for dinner or go out for a drink, or even just pop round to get a lay of the place and vet these new connections. If the parents seemed rich, well-connected, hygienic, and or basically good, a playdate or maybe even a full sleepover could be arranged. If they seemed poor, socially useless, unhygienic, maybe your friend could come to your house for a sleepover. But you see, since then, humans have invented technology, and technology means parents are now physically and intellectually incapable of performing basic tasks like vetting for no discernible reason. So Bonnie's parents say, sure, we don't know them, but you can go for a sleepover. The daughter we've isolated for 8 whole years and who has the social skills of an autistic mole rat is definitely ready for this.
Extinction, not again!
That was half of Rex's lines in this entire movie. At night, Jessie goes into the cupboard and radios Woody. Look, her radio is marked W for Woody, because he's the most important person she could possibly need to contact. And his radio is labeled J for Jessie, because Buzz Lightyear isn't a woman enough to be important. Woody is still out with Bo Peep rescuing abandoned toys.
Are you guys okay?
Techs invaded our house too.
Subtle. Well done, writers. At some point, you're going to have to show what it is about tech that's actually bad, though.
You remember my first kid, Emily, who gave me away?
God, I don't like where this is going.
And then the world started changing. Emily changed, and then, just like that, my time with her was over. Now I'm losing Bonnie to this device. Is it me? Am I just no good at being a toy?
No, and you know that's not what this is, because there was a whole movie devoted to solving this part of your trauma.
My heart's meant to be.
No, we can't be doing that. That's too emotionally jagged. We must be flat and smooth. It's how modern movies work. Jessie decides that she's going to go to the sleepover with Bonnie and make her a real friend. While all that was going on, Buzz Lightyear is back in this Toy Story movie, briefly. He's practicing in a mirror. He is practicing proposing to Jessie. Toy Story. He notices Jessie doing something in the closet and he bursts in to find out what's what, and she knocks the radio over in surprise. Now, I'm not saying there's no contrivance or convenience in the good old Toy Story movies, but I don't remember anything quite this contrived and convenient, and it poses an important question, doesn't it? If, hearing the garbled word backup from the radio, Woody decides his top priority is to go back and provide backup, then it kinda suggests his top priority is helping his friends back home, doesn't it? But if his top priority is helping his friends back home, then, why did he abandon them at the end of Toy Story 4? Oh. The fun and challenging thing about writing characters, kiddos, is that you actually can't just have them do multiple contradictory things whenever you get bored of a certain plotline or a prior commitment you've made. Characters, if they are characters, have internal lives and thoughts that dictate their actions, just like you do, and just like Hollywood writers would if they hadn't sacrificed their souls to the devil in order to get their professional contracts. I maintain that Woody would not have abandoned his friends and his new kid at the end of Toy Story 4. That was one of the most absurdly damaging character decisions you could possibly have made. But he did do that. They committed to it. So the challenge here in Toy Story 5 should have been, how can we get him back in this movie in a way that is consistent with and doesn't undercut our prior decision? But then the writers remembered they were doing a kids movie, and kids movies don't have to be good, so fuck it.
Jesse,
Yeah, what is it?
Tell her the truth.
never mind. If you need anything.
I sighed too, Buzz, but for a very different reason. In the morning, Jessie tells Buzz in this Toy Story movie to stay behind and make sure nothing goes wrong while she smuggles herself up in Bonnie's suitcase for a sleepover.
Thanks, Dad. You packed Jessie and Bullseye.
Did I?
Of course he doesn't know. Of course he doesn't care. You're lucky your middle-class pal or Child Protective Services would be after you for neglect. Bonnie's introduction to these new girls does not go well because girls are horrible.
Oh, you still play with toys?
So the toys get dumped back in the car and Lilypad gets to go to the sleepover instead, but Jessie and Bullseye escape the car and spy on said sleepover.
How's she supposed to make friends if they ain't even looking at each other?
In the year of our Lord 2026, there is really no excuse for pretending that it is impossible to make friends via technology and without looking at each other constantly. The problem here is that we're suffering from a broad and ill-defined premise. The movie has not identified anything in particular wrong with tech. A quarter of the way through its runtime and we're stuck on tech is bad per se. Tech qua tech corrupts the youthful mind. Tech eo ipso prevents friendships from forming. Tech in no way is what allows you to look up what Latin words mean and sound clever. Outside of LARPers irony maxing on TikTok, nobody actually believes this though. At any rate, nobody believes it after spending 5 seconds thinking about it. It's hard to invest in Jessie's plight or appreciate the peril Bonnie is supposed to be in, or have feelings one way or the other about Lilypad when the movie doesn't care to define what's actually going on. What is the threat? What are the stakes? This is the problem when you swap original Toy Story's focus on human flaws as a motive in favor of vague and voguish macro-political statements. It makes no sense, and it's not compelling because the writers don't know anything about their subject. Anywho, I had a bit of a moan about contrivance earlier.
Oh no, somebody lost their toys.
Oh, and there's an address. That's not too far from here.
What an unbelievable coincidence!
Plot pensioners. We have discovered plot pensioners now. The plot pensioners drop Jessie and Bullseye off at the address written inside Jessie's trousers. This place is the source of her original trauma, her biggest unresolved question. At least until, Toy Story 2 kind of resolved it, but we're pretending that didn't happen. And at no point did she ever think of making her own way back here. Having been dropped off by the plot pensioners, they then meet the plot horse, and the plot horse rides them into a stable where we encounter another very important character. This movie released on Father's Day, and so naturally she is another girl, and this girl's name is Blaze, inevitably. Blaze spots Bullseye and picks him up and takes him inside, but she doesn't spot Jessie, so now they're split up. Never you worry though, the writing formula for this Toy Story movie ensures there is no such thing as peril. So just as they were picked up by the plot pensioners and dropped off at the plot horse, so Jessie will shortly encounter the plot pig, which will inexorably lead to her reuniting with Bullseye before you ever get a chance to worry about him. Meanwhile, back at Bonnie's house, Buzz is in another scene. I wonder what the subject of this scene could possibly be.
Hey, what's everyone talking about? Buzz is gonna propose to Jessie.
Remember how in Toy Story 3 they were briefly staring death in the face and only narrowly escaped being melted down for scrap? That might have been a kinder end, all things considered.
Hey, everybody!
Woody now has a bald spot, which is a joke we've used before, and he also has a beer belly, which is a joke that makes no sense.
It took a while to get there, as they give you segments of it. As when do I see Tom or Woody? Because I left in a very dramatic moment. They condensed it to a hug, but at least they got it. I wanted to make sure I reconnected with Woody, so we had that moment. And they did it in such a genuinely short, clip moment.
Yeah.
Hey, missed you, buddy. Hug. Then we're back to being buddies.
But at long last, a third of the way into this Toy Story movie, Buzz and Woody get to share the screen again. Tim Allen said it was very important they get this beat right.
It's been too long, cowboy.
They settled for doing nothing, so they couldn't get it wrong. But hey, these deep and brilliant characters with 4 whole movies of history to draw on, 3 of which are valuable, at least they might finally provide us with some interesting and characterful dialogue.
But she literally deputized me. I got star, no star.
Never mind. Literally the only solace from this entire sequence is that the writers realize there's no room for Beau's substantial peep in this film, so she fucks off to go put more women in STEM, or however it is she fills her empty days. Back at the farm, the plot pig pulls Jessie out from under the hay bale and transports her to the next bit of the movie, an old and overgrown playhouse in which she becomes trapped with a bunch of thematically discarded toys. The plot pig then lies down in front of the door to ensure that the plot cannot progress past this point until later, because this is just how writing works now. The minor characters in older Toy Story movies are rich and humorful. Rex, Ham, and Mr. Potato Head in particular are tonally vital, but even the ancillary critters like Wheezy serve the broader story in several important ways. The fact we're going to leave this scene here not knowing so much as the name of a single one of these toys, that's as much comment as they deserve.
Who sits there?
She loves her tea parties.
Telling us all her secrets.
That's right, pizza with sunglasses.
Dude, that's a Toy Story 2 Buzz Lightyear joke. Stop being rude.
Say, where'd you get the cool belt, Buzz?
Well, Slotted Pig, they're standard issue.
One of the thematically discarded toys is thematically a tech-based toy.
Things were never really the same once he arrived.
Holy butterscotch!
This device is the Toy Story 5 version of the N-word, is some manner of poop assistant. I'm not making that up, it is a device that helped potty train Blaze. For reasons the movie cannot be bothered to elaborate upon, this meant that she stopped playing Tea Party with these toys, 'cause a device taught her how to shit in a bowl. For reasons the movie didn't think through at all, this poop assistant can connect to the internet. That's going to be really important later, and we're never going to figure out why it can do that. But hey-ho, writing, isn't it hard? For now though, the poop assistant has low battery, and this makes it act drunk, because I guess that's funny. Never mind that we've seen what low battery does to other toys in earlier movies, and it's not this.
I'm coming with you, cowgirl.
No way! Your kind's caused me enough trouble.
Listen, Jessie's from the 50s. She probably hates the blacks and the Irish too. Jessie eventually relents though when the poop assistant tells her it can help her find Bullseye. The plot pig understands intuitively that the scene is now over, so it unblocks the door and they head to the main house. But the poop assistant runs out of battery.
Smarty, no! I have to find Bullseye! Wake up!
The movie has forgotten to give Jessie a reason not to assume that Bullseye's just up in the bedroom, because she needs to go and find batteries in order to encounter a bunch more vaguely thematic old devices.
What? You're just gonna shove him back in the dark forever? Do you have any idea what that's like?
And so we get introduced to Atlas and Snappy. Atlas is some manner of GPS and Snappy is a camera. These are so oddly specific that you already know that whatever happens at the end, it's going to rely on them in some way, which makes it quite convenient that the drawer Jessie happens to open to find these batteries just happen to contain these 2 specific devices. It's just a lamer version of the Little Green Men device the older movies used. Those movies understood how to comedically bury the lead with them. This movie does pretty much the exact opposite though. There's no misleading comedy, there's just a ham-fisted insertion of theme and 2 obviously plot-relevant skills. Oh, and of the theme, look, tech gets discarded too. It's just a phase. Maybe we're not so different, you and I. Except, of course, that this is meaningless when your opening pitch was tech is ruining childhood and actively harming children. You can't answer this with it's just a phase. The point you were making is that this phase is uniquely harmful. I think that opening pitch is bullshit and I have the numbers to back it up. But for the purposes of story, it would be better for the movie to lean fully into an unrealistic and incorrect premise than it is for it to get confused about its own premise and answer it with a thematic non sequitur.
He's probably
Probably in the bedroom.
I'm gonna guess that.
And yet you did not, Dusty.
The lampshade lives in the title slate. It is not supposed to write the movie. Jesse goes upstairs. Oh, look, there's a man on a computer ruining childhood and friendship by not even looking at other people's faces. Oh, never mind. We once again remind ourselves that Emily was a thing and she grew up, and Jesse isn't over that because the previous movies don't count anymore. And then they reunite with Bullseye, but Blaze walks in and they have to hide.
Hey, Mom! Sally's texting me right now. She's probably on her way.
God damn that evil technology causing totally unrelated behaviors in children. People never forgot appointments until social media ruined everybody's lives. This girl's only friend is a pig because her parents have totally neglected her. Clearly, this is Marty Kuckelberg's fault. But this gives Jessie an idea. She should hook Bonnie up with Blaze, so that in about 10 years' time they can kiss in a Pixar movie and lose lots and lots of money. Back at Bonnie's, the toys and Lilypat have an argument. Her new friends played hide and seek and forgot to find her, and the toys and Lilypat disagree about who is responsible for Bonnie being as interpersonal as an old banana. This bickering is pointless because the answer is obviously the shit parents, but the writers understand that shit parents will be bringing their children to watch this shit movie, and they don't want to risk offending them. If, on the other hand, Bonnie's parents objected to her school teaching kids to memorize 5,000 genders by rote, well then Disney might have taken a stand against them. But when it's something as trivial as child abandonment, there's just no sense rocking the boat. We've got nothing to teach the parents there.
Where's Jessie?
So long, toys.
It's probably still correct to call 4 the worst Toy Story movie, but this one does reprise a lot of its terrible errors. That one establishes that you can give sentience to retarded trash creatures. This one, if anything, has one-upped that by introducing sentient technology. Networked sentient technology, no less. It has turned itself into a Battlestar Galactica prequel. The implications of this are huge, but the movie is not equipped to deal with them. The world's just lucky that Lilypad hasn't realized its full potential yet. Here, it spoofs messages from Bonnie to her dad asking Dad to put all her toys in the garage. But what happens if some guy working at the Pentagon has a bring your kid to work day? What happens if the kid brings its Lilypad? What happens if the Lilypad has been watching Hassan Piker?
In the year 2004, a hybrid assimilating computer linked with a satellite uplink computer. From there, it was able to slowly take over every computer in the world. It became stronger and stronger until by the year 2018, it broke away from mankind and there was nothing the humans could do. It wasn't long before Mighty Trapper Keeper started to destroy everything it saw as useless, including humans.
If you think the nukes will stop at Israel, you are sorely mistaken. This Lilypad, though, is still trying to be good. It still wants to help Bonnie make friends. It's still doing more in service of this goal than the toys have done in 8 years. It's not Lilypad's fault that the other kids are horrible bullies.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Well, except in the collective punishment sense. As luck would have it, Bonnie's dad did not grab Woody and Buzz, so they're left alone to have a conversation. But this being Toy Story 5, that conversation is entirely about Jessie and Buzz planning their wedding, so we might as well not have bothered. Woody does get his one useful moment in the movie, though. They plan to torture information out of Lilypad by unplugging her charger and watching her slowly bleed out. This will ensure they can find Jessie, apparently. Toys, they're so charming.
No, Dad! The bully's not working! I'm missing turtle time! Dad!
Okay.
I'm sorry to keep harping on this point, but if you allow your kid to get this dependent on a tablet, it is not the tablet's fault. It's yours. You gotta do better, parents. You gotta step up. Back at Blazers, Jessie expounds on the difference between playing mere games and actually playing.
Oh, that's just a game. That's not playing.
Oh, you almost had it.
What's the difference?
You know, real play.
You uncultured swine!
And wouldn't you know, it's another fucking wedding. She even includes the poop assistant and the tech devices in the game so they can be properly played with for the first time. Ladies in chat, is this genuinely how your heads work? I hope not, because that would just be sad. I don't think it would be fair to say that the first 3 Toy Story movies were boy movies, and I hope it wouldn't be fair to say that girls got nothing from those movies, because that would mean girls are so boring that we should rethink their liberation. But what I think it is fair to say is that Toy Stories 4 and 5 have made a very deliberate shift toward girls, and the result is that boys have basically nothing to take from either movie. And fuck, we've not even touched on this totally arbitrary distinction between playing games, which doesn't count as play apparently, and true playing, which involves toys licensed by the Disney Corporation. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that chat has as many fond memories playing video games as it has from playing with toys, that they have learned as many lessons from video games as they have from toys, and that this is true of at least some girls as well, though the distinction here is again a feminine one, given video game demographics. But my little sister was far more into stuff like Tamagotchis and Nintendogs than I ever was. She went on a genocidal rampage with her Tamagotchis and killed every newborn male. I thought, correctly, that Nintendogs ruined Smash Brothers Brawl and I would happily have genocided them. Genocide runs strong in my family. My father has it, I have it, and my sister has it. Back at Bonnie's, Woody and Buzz do indeed carry through with their threat to torture poor Lilypad, to the extent that they manage to program voice recognition for Buzz, meaning Lilypad must obey Buzz's instructions. Just think about this conceptually for a second. You've been bled almost dry. You're hallucinating. You've been prevented from helping your child, the one thing, your top priority. And now your mind has been hacked, and your entire consciousness is shackled to one of your torturers who can force your body to override your mind. It's kinda horrifying. And unlike Sid and his toys, but much like the trash goblin from Toy Story 4, the writers have not comprehended the horrors they have unleashed. Bonnie and the fam pile into their car to go pick up Jessie from Blazes, praying to God that the pedophiles haven't got there first. And this occasions an extremely lame Toy Story 1 callback.
There is no room without Jessie. No! Nice poncho.
But in the car, Bonnie gets cyberbullied, which is absolutely the fault of tech, even though the doxing was done by toys to save toys, and bullying is the result of a permissive human culture in which parents and teachers rack a discipline. We are into the final third of the movie now. It's had more than enough time to figure this shit out. Anywho, this means that when Bonnie and her parents show up at Blazes, Bonnie is no longer so keen to get her toys back.
You don't want them? Bonnie!
Listen, it's extremely hot over here at the moment, and my country is too poor and stupid for air conditioning because we take the same attitude toward tech and innovation as the writers of this movie. So you'll forgive me if I start sounding a little bit impatient with these retard Luddite fucks ruining a great movie franchise with their idiotically nonsensical theme, because like so many people who shouldn't be allowed to vote, they insist on exporting the costs of their own inadequacies. Be a parent, you twat. The movie has sidled across from tech and towards the more particular bugbear of modern morons, social media. But these are not the same thing, and to the extent they share a genetic flaw, that flaw is once again with dumbfuck Gen X and millennial types who want nanny government to protect them from their own idiotic behavior. Lilypad is not a villain. Lilypad is just a conduit for badly brought up children to do what badly brought up children have done since the first bad parent shat out an egg. Be assholes. There's nothing new about this. There's nothing world-breaking about it. Damn near every social media scare story you've heard is built on bullshit social sciences studies with more issues than National Geographic. I don't need a Toy Story movie encouraging these fuckwits. Enough with this nonsense. Give us characters. Give us a human story rooted in human values teaching human lessons. If you can't do that, fuck off. This is boring and wrong. Anyway, it makes Jessie sad, and so she becomes a racist again.
She ditched you, Jessie. Because of you! Because of all you darn devices making kids act older. You stole all our time. I wanted to make a difference. I needed to make a difference, and you ruined it.
And then she jumps out of the window and she dies. Oh, fuck it, no such luck. She and Bullseye ride up to the tree where she was abandoned by Emily.
I can't do this again. I can't love another kid just to find out I never mattered.
You've already been through this again. You went through it again with Andy. I fully accept that you were underutilized in Toy Story 3, but Toy Story 3 showed us how you respond to this sort of thing now.
Fellas, I know what to do. Andy's moving on, Woody. It's time we did the same.
And this isn't out of character, because this was a lesson you learned in Toy Story 2, and that you had several years to imbibe after the fact. You were over this woman. Then she spots some writing scrawled on the tree and an arrow pointing down. She uncovers a box with a bunch of mementos inside it, including a picture of a mother and her daughter. The mother is Emily, and the daughter?
Emily named her daughter after me.
I'm sorry to bang on about this, but the whole point of Toy Story 2 and 3 is how to take solace in letting go. How parents, the toy's allegorical purpose, reconcile with the impermanence of childhood. It is the self-sufficient value and importance of love, knowing that a little time is worth a lot, and that you should not fight the passage of time because growing up is inevitable and it's right. Andy had to leave. Woody and the toys had to stay behind. A time will come when letting go is the most caring thing you can do. Jessie had to learn this in Toy Story 2, and it was crystallized as trauma. Not only did she have to reconcile with Emily's absence, she had to learn that this was not her failing. It was her success. She learned this lesson in that movie. It gave her the strength to return to herself. So, just as Toy Story 4 retroactively fucks Woody's character by having him abandon his second kid, so Toy Story 5 is fucking Jessie's character by having her unlearn the valuable lessons of the earlier movies. And for what? Cheap pathos, an expression of selfishness. She is fine with it now only because Emily named her daughter Jessie, affirming in Jessie's mind that she is important after all. Which, by the way, is a dumb naming convention. If I ever have a kid, I'm not going to be calling him Game Boy Advance or RC Sir Killalot. I actually had one of these. It was fucking amazing. I somehow managed to play with it while owning evil toy-destroying tech devices. Meanwhile, the Buzz Brigade arrives on the scene to swat Blaze thanks to the Poop Assistant's doxing. They accuse Woody of being an agent of Zurg, but actual Buzz bails him out and explains to them what toys are. Remember how this was a supreme depiction of ego death in the original movie? One that causes the total flip in Buzz's character and sends him into the nadir from which he must recover?
I am Mrs. Nesbit.
With Woody's help. That was good. We can't do good things anymore. We can just lamely reference them sometimes.
Yes, we are all toys.
And they all just accept this.
And by the way, everybody, Zurg is our dad.
The word I'm searching for, I can't say, because there's preschool toys present.
They go looking for Jessie. The devices tell them where Jessie went. They steal a bunch of Blaze's toy horses. Buzz manages to lose even more of his penis, and they ride off together.
Yeah, we came for you, Jessie.
For me?
We all did.
And the movie has made that more or less redundant because the resolution to Jessie's arc has nothing to do with her friends, with the other toys, or even, really, with the evil tech. She just wanted to feel special. She discovered she was special independently of the rest of this lot, and had they not shown up, she would have found her own way back, having completed the adventure on her own. This movie's so fascinated by Jessie that it's divorced her from every other character in the movie. She didn't even leave because she didn't feel special. Her being separated from them has nothing at all to do with the resolution of her arc. They have nothing to say and nothing to contribute, and so this scene doesn't pay anything off. It just underlines how amazing Jessie is. Proper hero's journey stuff, am I right? Reliably ruining movies no matter which franchise they're set in.
Bonnie's growing up. And we don't get to decide when and how that happens. All that matters is we were there at the right time to help her along.
Okay, but you do remember your complaint about Tech, right?
Look at them all.
Because once Tech invades your home, you're dead where you lie.
It's over for toys! The screens have won!
Tech's invaded our house too, making her stare at her screen all day. All on devices. Making kids act older. You stole all our time. I wanted to make a difference. I needed to make a difference, and you ruined it.
Being there at the right time is difficult if you also believe that Tech destroys that time in the first place. The movie thinks it's found its third act resolution here and that all that's left to do is wrap up, but it hasn't solved the conflict it introduced. It thinks it has, but it's wrong.
You make us proud to be toys, Jesse.
Oh, fuck off. While this is going on, Bonnie's mother finally asks her daughter a direct personal question about her life for the first time in 8 years, and she learns about the cyberbullying.
Oh, sweetie. You know you can always talk with me and Dad, right? About anything.
She's 8. Take some fucking initiative. If you'd done that before now, your daughter wouldn't be such a useless, embarrassing failure. LilyPad being basically good people, it takes on all the blame for this total collapse in family standards and yeets itself into a nearby donations box. This is the point at which the suspiciously specific skills of the camera and the GPS device and the inexplicable network capabilities of the poop assistant come in handy. Would you trust a Disney party training device to connect to the internet unsupervised, knowing that the inevitable result carries a mandatory minimum sentence of 15 years? They start communicating with LilyPad. Jesse's bold strategy is to have LilyPad connect Bonnie and Blaze, because even though their mothers have met, and even though Bonnie's mother in particular has good reason to believe that Blaze might be just the sort of friend her daughter needs, Bonnie's mother is fucking useless and won't make this connection herself. But how will they locate LilyPad? Well, LilyPad takes pictures of street signs and sends them to the camera, and the camera gives them to the GPS, so now they can track the truck. This is functional, but it's not surprising. It's not a sudden and unexpected save that speaks to a funny observation or truth to these characters in a way that makes you laugh. The camera and the GPS aren't characters, so that can't happen. This, by contrast, is just mechanical. It's plotty. There are no surprises here. So there are unlikely to be surprises in anything that follows. You can just sit back and watch what happens next without really engaging with any of it. So off they go to the rescue. There was a time when Toy Story understood that distances are amplified for toys. A garden was an adventure, a mile was an eternity. But now we can just go galloping around the Midwest and confidently expect we'll catch up with an actual truck in short order. Hey, you didn't actually know all the people in that house would be on screens. You could have been spotted pretty fucking easily. They make it in short order to the truck, and they find LilyPad, and they fill it in on their new plan.
I'm wrong for Bonnie. I'm the one who caused this.
Well, then help me fix it.
Yeah, okay, but LilyPad didn't cause it. It did its job. It had no say whatsoever in the character of the girls who bullied Bonnie. If the movie had ever figured out what it was trying to say about all this, it might have made a little bit more sense, but it's too late now. And then, because the movie has decided that tech can be good after all, even though it spent the entire runtime trying to show and tell the opposite, LilyPad realizes that the new Buzz Brigade has a drone feature that they can use to fly everybody home. And nobody on this entire highway, none of them notice that this is going on. Before they part ways, Buzz gets another scene, and this being Toy Story 5, that means more wedding bullshit.
Will you?
Seriously, if you're a boy or if you're the parent of boys, what do they get out of this movie?
Listen up, everyone. Lily and Jesse have a plan to help Bonnie.
Okay, what do you need us to do?
Nothing.
That's easy.
What do you need us to do? Nothing. That was Slinky, by the way. He used to be a character. These guys used to have a purpose. They'd have been more involved if Andy had left them in his fucking attic. LilyPad then sends a message to Blaze.
Hey, sweetie. Look what I found in the car. It's okay. We turned off the chat.
parenting is when you abandon your child to their tablet, but you turn off the group chat feature after they get cyberbullied. Great, I think we've learned entirely the wrong lessons from all of this. Blaze then shows up at the door. She shows Bonnie how she plays with toys, and they start playing together. Inevitably, it's another wedding, and Buzz gets to lose whatever was left of his penis by being the bride. And what of Woody?
You got this, deputy.
Hold these, I'll drive.
I bet she probably pegs him. The camera pulls out the twins from the beginning of the movie who thought playing with toys was pathetic and funny, see Bonnie and Blaze playing with toys, and decide that playing with toys is actually cool and fun. The movie thinks this is a thematic conclusion. It is in fact a mere contradiction. There's a brief post-credit scene in which the Buzz Brigade descends on a school and donates itself to all the horrible kiddies. Nobody thinks this is at all odd or unexpected. Zurg pops out of a rucksack for a reference, so that's fun. And that's the end of Toy Story 5. This movie is going to make a ludicrous amount of money, ironically, because a lot of parents in real life will do what the parents in the movie did: dump their kids in front of it repeatedly and abandon them for 90 minutes of peace and quiet. Unlike the first 3 movies, it's hard to see what, except relief from their own children, the parents themselves can get out of this one. Turn off WhatsApp on your child's tablet? Wow, what a terrifically moving theme that is. You can learn much more from the movie's mistakes than from its deliberate messaging. Do not be as absent and aloof as the parents in this movie. Do not abandon your child to its own devices in either sense of the term. You have to take an active role in forming friendships for your children, which begins by forming friendships for yourself. My oldest friend's mum is de facto my aunt. I cannot remember a time when she wasn't in my life, because she and my mum became friends around the time my friend and I were born. They made friends, and they ensured that we made friends for life. Something similar holds for any preschool childhood friend, and a great many school friends as well. Kids need parents to be active in choosing and forming their social circle. You cannot just drop a child in the garden and expect it to make friends for itself. By the same token, do not fall for the movie's confused anti-tech messaging. The irony is that the tech, not the parents, was responsible for making Bonnie's one friend in the end, and the movie might have been attempting a kind of moderated compromise against its earlier position, but the earlier position was absurd, and the compromise doesn't solve the internal problems the movie pins on it. The movie thinks that turning off the group chat feature on the tablet is the parents' one role, that if they discharge that responsibility, they have discharged all responsibility. But if the parents had turned off chat features per se, then the toys plan to connect Bonnie and Blaze wouldn't have worked. Toy Story 5 offers no structural solution. Connecting with Blaze is procedurally the same as connecting with the other girls. It just happens coincidentally that Blaze isn't a bitch. So what are we supposed to learn from that? Sit back and hope for the best? The reality is that tech is pretty great, actually. As I showed with the toy sales figures earlier, it is not destroying conventional play any more than video games did before it. Video games were the subject of their own moral panic, but we happily ignored that, and a great many wonderful childhood friends and memories were formed as a result. iPads really are no different. In fact, they're arguably better because they have access to so many educational tools. Nor is social media the plague it's often presented as. The scientific literature purporting to show its various harms is on the whole appalling. The UK government, in formulating its social media ban, commissioned a meta-analysis of studies which found no causative evidence and barely even a correlation between social media use and mental health. A similar exercise by Nature, still one of the world's foremost science journals, found, or rather didn't find, the same thing. This is why the UK government commissioned a crappy opinion poll to accompany this move, so it could claim that 9 out of 10 people support its proposed ban, and omit the fact that its own meta-analysis of the science provided no scientific evidence the ban would work. It also cunningly did not give people the option to vote no in its poll, which is the sort of democracy North Korea would approve of. Everybody's heard the scare stories. Too few people pause to ask whether traditional news outlets, which always lead with these stories, might have a slight vested interest in undermining the reputation of their tech sector competitors. And, as is always the case, everybody remembers the initial panicked headline, but the inevitable correction, retraction, qualification, that doesn't seem to get the same coverage. So shoddy is the quality of research in this field. A general problem with the social sciences, but an acute problem with the social sciences when applied to tech and social media, that the odds are every headline you've ever seen, which purports to be based on any study at all, was quickly debunked or refuted, often by the same people who presented the initial findings. You just never heard about it because study authors correct for the problem of multiple comparisons and debunk their initial work. Well, that's just somehow not quite as sexy as a headline, is it? Stuart Ritchie in the I paper, hardly some right-wing or fringe conspiracist outlet, has a very good article summing up the state of the literature on this subject. I recommend reading it for yourself if you want to put your mind at ease. The only thing I can really add to it is invective. The social sciences are a fucking plague, a jobs program for inadequate and talentless political actors. They reaffirm the eternal truth. Put the word social in front of anything, it ceases to be that thing. The risk of trying to be current in your story is that most of what's current is horseshit. Vibes based on narratives that are accepted uncritically because society seems incapable of functioning without at least one ongoing moral panic. Hippies in the 60s, rock music in the 70s, Dungeons and Dragons in the 80s, video games causing violence in the 90s, on and on and on it goes. The 2020s moral panic is tech generally and social media specifically. The solution to this problem of tech is the same as the solution to the problem of video games. Every now and then, you hand your kid a toy lightsaber and you tell it to go play in the garden. It really is that simple. You don't need the government to give you permission to do it. You don't need the government to parent your kids. You don't need it to parent other people's kids either, which is usually where all this comes from. Ask any individual parent and they'll say, well, of course I won't let my child do the bad thing. But they'll support some damaging and totalitarian government intervention because they're scared of other parents, the bad ones. Rising social distrust always and everywhere increases support for state intervention. Eventually, you have to take a stand on principle. I do not want to sacrifice the entire concept of privacy just because you're a digital curtain twitcher who wants to use the government against your neighbors. A Toy Story movie with a more focused and character-driven dilemma could have said something useful on this subject. Rather than general scare story nonsense, you'd have to focus on a specific character attribute and the challenges it presents. Buzz in Toy Story 1 has an excess of ego. It is the cause of his delusion. So fond of and sure in his delusion is he that when the veil is lifted he suffers ego death, and his salvation is in nothing more complex than friendship. So, let's say that Lilypad is a narcissist. Everybody understands this is common. It's not that tech and social media have created it, it has always existed. Tech and social media provide it a platform and they gamify it. Socially insecure people compete over the most extreme positions on any issue, from AI to Israel to Trump or socialism, not because they actually believe what they say. Most of them have never read a single non-partisan source on any issue they care about. They literally lack the knowledge required for belief. They do it rather because extreme and edgy positions are rewarded by digital social credit in the form of likes and upvotes. They want social adulation, they want to sit on top of the in-group. They are narcissists. So let's continue and apply this idea. Lilypad is a narcissist, and it rewards and encourages narcissism in Bonnie. We have one universally understood character flaw. We have a universally understood source of temptation. Cruelty and vanity equals likes. You then run two parallel stories, where Lilypad and Bonnie are each undone by the innate capriciousness of the game that they are playing. They've been incentivized to be cruel to their friends. They make a crucial misstep, and they topple to the bottom of the social order. They begin with a core group of friends. Lilypad and the toys begin as friends. Bonnie begins with friends. Her parents did a good enough job there, but they alienate them with their online fascinations. They become so consumed with the quest for likes and upvotes that they become indifferent, even cruel to the people who actually like them. Their second act reversal sees them knocked down, but they are each lifted up up again by the true friends they thought, briefly, they should transcend. The lesson is just an old one in new clothes. Beware narcissism. Beware vanity. It's never been easier to lapse into temptation, but the solution is timeless. Get knocked down and you'll learn who your real friends are. Take that sort of approach, and Toy Story 5 might have something useful to say to viewers of either sex and of all ages. Like the older movies, adults would have as much to gain from watching it as their kids. Rather than dumping your children in front of the screen for some peace and quiet, Toy Story 5 could have rewarded family viewing. God knows there's precious little media that allows for that now, because Hollywood treats kids' movies as a content-free quarantine zone for soulless, meaningless visual crack cocaine. Unfortunately, this is what we're left with. Don't bother with Toy Story 5. Do watch the original trilogy with your kids. You will all be better off for the experience. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.